Oh, no, that's okay. I heard it. Do you know that they stay there for like a long time?
Oh, that's good. No problem. That is fair. Mike's about to click on something.
Oh, we're we owe them some money.
Yeah.
Yeah. I already sent the check. Okay.
No, click multiple times. When it asks for your credit card information on the Russian server, make sure you fill up all your credit
It is
cards.
for my,
And your mother's name again.
and font size.
Their checks are signed.
Good track.
You take a couple more minutes.
And you walk right by it. They don't know you never see. And you can look at it. Keep going. Let's see what you do those two legs along the forward. Yeah, it's good work.
All right, 7:01. Thank you all for coming to the fiscal year 2024 Newfield budget hearing. The purpose of the meeting tonight is to present the proposed operating budget, which, if you have, anybody needs a copy, they're out on the table, along with the warrants that have been submitted. These warrants will have to go before DRA and get final approval, but we will address both the budget and the warrant articles at our deliberative session in February. As an SB2 town, we're presenting the budget here to the town, and This is part of the Article 2 on your warrant, which is the operating budget. We'll also briefly walk through the warrants themselves. Just to note that there's a bond hearing to really address all of the issues with Article 1. We certainly can take some comments and questions, but detailed discussion of that, we're going to ask that people hold that off until the bond hearing. We're going to be working through the budget, and obviously there's issues on the budget that people want to discuss. So with that, let me just ask, are there any questions about the process and what's going to go on tonight? No? Okay, great. So we're going to walk through this line by line, section by section. If you have questions, we'll take questions after each section in our review of them. Please ask questions. That's what we're here for. So with that, the first line item under general government is the executive. The executive department covers salaries and services down in the offices downstairs. It includes some of the contracts under there. Last year's appropriation or budget was $168,380. The proposed budget for the upcoming year is $175,824. Any specific questions about the executive line? Any comments? Board member want to make? No? Okay, great. Next item, election registration and vital statistics. Last year, the budget line item was $5,200. The upcoming year, it is $15,600. The large jump in that is because we have 4 elections this year. We will have the upcoming presidential primary in 2 weeks here at Town Hall. We will have our town elections in March. We will have the regular federal and state primary election in September, and then we have the general election in November. So with the increase in the number of elections, this typically goes up every other year, and every 4 years it goes up a lot. Any questions about or comments about elections registration by statistics? Yeah?
I should have asked this at the beginning.
No.
What is the town's fiscal year?
January 1st through December 31st. We are on a calendar year fiscal. Some towns do July 1. We're on a calendar year. And on that point, just to make sure people understand, we're currently operating in fiscal year 2024 for the money we're spending. This budget assumes certain things for January through March. So the approval in March, whether it's the default or the operating budget that ends up on the warrant, will incorporate the expenses that we will have expended to date, but we're not operating on prior approved money right now. And that's typical in terms of just the only fiscal year. But thank you for raising that point, just so people understand. Next line item, financial administration. Last year, $27,470. This year, $27,715. Any questions about budget for financial administration? This is mostly our audit money and treasury services and stuff like that. All right. Next up, revaluation of property. As many of you know, we just went through our reval, but we pay an assessor every year on contract. Last year it was $21,450. We just put it out to bid, received a new contract. The contract cost for next year is going to be, well, it's incorporated in there, $21,750 for the upcoming fiscal year. Any questions about assessor? No? Great. Legal expense. Last year we budgeted for $12,000. We under budgeted by a mile. We've increased that. We don't anticipate the legal issues that we've been dealing with over the past 12 months, but we increased the budget nonetheless. Questions about legal expense?
What were they from? The increase in legal stuff?
The increase from the 12 to the 18, or the increase last year?
Last year.
Most of that is dealing with the Vernon family farm and some other issues around town that we have to deal with legal counsel on. Any other questions about legal? Planning and zoning, last year's budget, $13,850. Planned budget for fiscal year 2024, $14,250. Much of that is the contract for the town planner who works with the planning department, planning board on planning and development issues. Any questions about planning? Tony? Okay. Next item, general government buildings. Last year, 28,700. This year, 31,414. These are basically covering repairs and issues to deal with both the library, which is owned by the town, as well as this building here. Basically repairs and maintenance, security, electricity, heating oil, stuff like that. Any questions about general government buildings? Yes, Wynn?
That includes your remediation, is that what it is?
No, remember, we encumbered money from fiscal year 2023 to deal with the remediation. That's approximately $8,500, give or take. So in encumbering those funds, what we've basically said is we'll spend those funds in 2024, but they are going to be accounted as 2023 because it's under contract. So those funds aren't in here, those funds were part of the 2023.
Okay, that's all signed. Good.
Yeah, yeah. All right, any questions about government buildings? No. Cemeteries, last year 31,515, this year 31,515. Kudos to the cemetery trustees that maintained a budget of $31,515 for 7, 8, 9, 10 years. They do a nice job with it. Most of that's landscaping, repairs at the cemetery, headstone, stone walls, etc. Any questions about cemetery? Next up, insurance. 38,475 last year, 26,811 this year. The drop in insurance is mainly due to credits that we have applied to next year that we received from our insurance. So there's a drop in the number, which is always a nice thing. Any questions about insurance? Yes?
Since there's a drop in insurance and credits this year, will that be expected to hold for next year?
No. Expected to roll back up. We had to make a decision about it, given the budget constraints in this year, and after last year's increase, trying to maintain a smaller increase this year as possible. We thought it prudent to do this. Given time, hopefully rolls in, insurance won't go up too much, and the volatility will not be too bad in terms of absorbing it. Advertising and regional association, these are some association advertising that we're required to make, post meetings for all the departments, all the committees and commission meetings in town. It's basically staying the same at 5150. Any questions? Okay. Other general government. I always have to look at what's included in here. Yes. Adaptation and everything else in anybody. I don't think I have that one. Is that other general? No, that's executive.
The town hall tree for.
The what?
Tree.
Oh, this is all on the contracts. Computer contracts, town hall stream for our streaming services, our GIS services, website, all of that. So this is just some additional general government, mostly contracts. The bulk of it is the contracts for that we get into. Thank you. Yeah, Wynn.
Does that include the oil contract?
Excuse me?
Does that include the oil contract?
The oil contract? No,
The
oil.
library?
No, the heating for the library comes under general government buildings. That's where our heating
Oh,
contract
so
goes.
second.
Yeah, it's, our heating and oil costs are in general government buildings. Okay. All right, let me just ask last opening, any questions on the general government category in general or anything in specific? No? Okay. Next item, public safety. First, there's police. Last year's budget at $679,828. Proposed budget for fiscal year 2024, $724,890. Questions about the police budget? No? Wow. Yes? So, the big problem here, and, you know, this is why we see the jump in executive, it's personnel costs. Personnel costs over the last 2 years have been expensive, more so with public safety, only because, I don't know if you're aware, but every town in New Hampshire is desperate for police and fire personnel. Some towns are offering signing bonuses of $10,000, $20,000, even $30,000 for experienced police officers to go leave where they are now and go to a different department. It is especially brutal here in the Seacoast. You know, I don't know if Chief wants to weigh in, but we know other towns are trying to poach our police officers in order to maintain our current coverage, maintain our police force, and these are salaries that basically get us back in line with some of the officers who were kind of quite low that we were compensating them for. So that's the bulk of the increase here is really personnel costs. There are some insurance costs there. What are the other?
Cruiser maintenance.
Cruiser maintenance, yeah.
Gasoline.
And yeah, gasoline costs. So. Yes, Jen. Jane.
How many full-time and part-time each police officers do you have?
So there's 4 full-time and 5 part-time.
Is that including chief?
Yes, he's one of the full-times. Yes.
With all that being said, today is Law Enforcement Appreciation Day, and I'd like to publicly thank our police department for their service.
Other questions about the police line? Ambulance, this is our contract for ambulance services, which we contract with Newmarket for. We don't have our own ambulance. Maintains the same as last year, $5,100. Questions about ambulances?
Actually, I have a question.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry.
No, don't worry.
How much of that cost for the police is actually detail oriented? Do we sub that from other towns? Because I see other crews.
Sure.
How does that
Do you want to answer or would you like me to?
I can answer it.
Go.
Details, like more details?
Yeah, we get detail.
That doesn't come out of our budget. In fact, we actually make money off that. There's a cruiser fee, administration fee. With the last 2 years plus since I've been here, the town has made over $100,000 in that detail revenue account. So our last 2 cruises that were purchased through that detail revenue account and was not applied to any taxation or warrant articles or anything like that. So all those details that we work actually goes into that account and we purchase our cruisers and our equipment in that account.
Oh, okay. None of the options get more from that.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with the
Oh, okay.
budget at all.
Right. There's a fee schedule that we have that charges utilities or even other towns when they use our details. About 20 years ago, the Budget Advisory Committee recommended that the town establish the detail account to basically amass funds from detail to pay for cruisers. So that we haven't had a warrant article to buy a cruiser now in quite some time, except for to remove money from the detail itself. We really haven't utilized taxation for cruisers or the equipment for cruisers now for years. And it's because the detail money goes directly in there.
I'd like to throw kudos out to the chief for the way he's done that. 2 cruisers without a penny of tax money going to it. Congratulations, well done. Thank you.
Any other questions about the police department?
So just to expand on this question, you said
Sure.
about out of town, potentially officers, that's getting paid through, that's being billed through that other town, it's Exeter,
Right.
it's Newmarket.
So, for example, if you've gone down 111 into Hampton, in Northampton, you've probably seen a lot of work on the power lines there, and they have a detail there. I don't know, 80% of the time, it's a Newfields cruiser. And that means that the town and or the utility, depending on who's is paying us to have that cruiser there. And again, it doesn't go through taxation, all those funds end up in the detail account for eventually buying a new cruiser or equipment for cruisers. Okay. Great. Fire department. Last year, 173,538. Proposed budget of 172,816. Questions about the fire?
So,
Yes.
so why no increase for them? I read that they're having the same issue as the police department and finding people to actually be volunteer firemen.
Well, we're volunteers. We instituted, basically, several years ago, this budget was approximately $75,000 to $80,000. We're a volunteer department. We don't have full-time. If we go full-time, this budget will probably more than triple. If you look around Rockingham and even the state, Newfields is incredibly lucky in that our fire department over the years has cost us a bargain to maintain what is a quality fire department for the town. And it's because we're still a volunteer. This was a recommendation of the chief in order to maintain the on-call and the per diems and basically the compensation that they're utilizing there to maintain the department. They're volunteer, so they're not really being poached by other departments because they're volunteer. If we had a full-time force, I know for a fact, and I've talked to other towns, full-time fire men and women are being poached much like police are. We don't have any full-time, so we don't face that problem on the fire side. Any other questions? Yes?
How is the compensation program working?
Is Chief here?
Yeah, right here.
Oh, thank you. I saw you walk in, I didn't see where you sat.
It's working well. It has not gained us any members, but it's got more members to respond, especially at night. So it's working well.
I know we were concerned.
It's not the cure-all, it's not the answer. We're still not, I have one application for membership from last year that we're processing right now, so we're not gaining any members. We'd still like to get some members, so everybody wants to do it. Make it a lot easier now, there's online courses. You don't have to take time out of your busy schedule to be able to take 2 or 3, 6 months of nights to get certified. You can do this online. So we put some announcements out. They're trying to change the state's trying to change finally to work with small towns and area departments that are having a hard time getting people by making it a little bit easier to get certified. So that's both EMT and Fire 1, Fire 2, Fire 3.
And the cost is reimbursable for those online courses and training?
There's never been a cost to anybody. The department has always paid the cost, paid the charges.
And that's part of the training budget line item.
Part of our training line item budget, that's why I could drop my budget down a little bit this year. I don't see our training budget being used up like it was last year. So Selectmen have always assured me that if I got 15 people that wanted to join, we find my money somewhere if I can have my budget.
You get 15 people to join, yeah. I'll pay myself.
Then I can retire.
Raise.
Any other questions about the fire department? No? All right. Building inspection, this is basically the fixed amount that we pay our building inspector, $6,000 for the year. Any questions? Emergency management, $14,700 last year, going to $15,000 for the upcoming year. Emergency management obviously deals with emergency management, works with police and fire, manages some of the grants that we get for Seabrook and readiness. A lot of that money goes towards equipment, radios, stuff like that for emergency management and first responders. Any questions? Okay, good. Airport operations, still no airport in Newfields. Highways and streets. Last year's budget, $340,600. Proposed for next year is $420,600. The increase is mainly due to, we have basically a 20-year paving schedule that we've tried to maintain. Cost of materials usually drives exactly how much we can get paved. The increase here is because we're doing a long stretch, about a mile stretch, to complete Old Lee from, basically the top of the hill where they stop paving, all the way to the end. And so that is going to be done next year. And the cost of that increased length versus the prior years, it's gone up. Now, as a heads up, and I've mentioned this at prior meetings, expect this number to be in the 450 to 500,000 range for the next several years. A lot of the neighborhoods that came in the 90s, the roads there are getting worn down, and we're going to have to, basically take off the top coat, put a new one down, and that's a lot of miles. And so I expect that we're going to see, a mile a year for the next several years as we work through that planned cycle. I know people have asked about Summer and Pleasant. Knock on wood, we got the grant money to redo that, and we're going through the RFP process to do the study and engineering for that. Possibly that will be done by the fall, and so we'll get that done as well, but that may roll into 2025. Questions about highways and streets?
How often, I know you said 20 years, I don't know what that applies to, how often do you redo a road? When needed on that?
So the town has approximately 17 miles and change of roads. So we're doing a little under, on average, under a mile a year. Some years it's shorter, like, we did Bald Hill, then we did Sanborn, shorter roads than the mile that we're doing on Old Lee. So it fluctuates around that. We do know the next couple of years, it's going to be about a mile plus of road for the next several years.
And has the cost of materials for that
Oh, yeah.
skyrocketed?
Yeah, I mean, it's gone up dramatically. I mean, this year it's down a little, crude prices are down, so it's certainly not, when crude was at $30, $40, $50 a barrel, it was a lot cheaper. It's a lot more expensive now. Yes, ma'am?
Does that number of miles include 85 and 87?
No, those are state roads. The 17 miles is just the town roads. The roads that we're responsible for maintenance, plowing, stuff like that. Yes, sir.
In this year, the budget was 340, it costs 297. How many miles did we do this year?
So it's 297 that was expended. We actually encumbered 20 some odd $1,000 for some road work that didn't get completed before winter arrived. So while it's not in the expenditure, we've contracted for that. So if you add about 20,000, there's about 15,000 remaining. We did all the paving that we were expecting to do last year. A lot of that, the difference is other maintenance or, plowing, sand and salt costs, stuff like that, that also are part of the budget. So if, basically December was fairly light with respect to snow, so we had a lower plowing cost in 2023 than we expected. So that's really, those are the issues that make up the difference for the most part.
Was it a 1 mile stretch last year?
No. Much shorter stretch last year.
How much was it?
I would say it was probably between half and 3/4 of a mile.
I think it's just under.
Just under.
Bald Hill is not quite a mile, so if you do Bald Hill and Sanborn, it's probably just about a mile.
Well, they did part, I think didn't they do part of Sanborn?
They did all of Sanborn.
All of Sanborn, okay.
All of Sanborn and all of Bald.
Is Brian here? I mean, he'd be able to better answer that than I
I
can.
run it all the time.
No.
It's about a
Yep.
mile from my house down to the end of Bald Hill, so it's about a shot.
So for about the same amount of road, it's costing us another $120,000.
Again, this is the budget they're requesting to do Old Lee, and the numbers he's being quoted to do it in terms of materials and paving costs.
So is it like out for bid, or how does that work?
Yeah, he puts it up for bid.
Free, or do we see those bids?
I don't, he's the road agent. The road agent is responsible for those bids. We have not established any kind of a road paving fund for that. The town certainly could, if it so chose. We have just tried to manage under the, the plan is basically that 20-year paving plan. It's somewhere 3/4 to a little over a mile a year. It was basically built and designed with the idea that we tried not to do, a 1/4 mile one year and then, 2 miles in the next year. So you wouldn't see that volatility. We haven't had a whole lot of volatility over the last, 10 years or so as we've been operating under the plan until when crude oil goes to $120 a barrel, we see the spike. We've tried to manage that as much as possible. It certainly isn't a bad idea. We've talked about trying to keep more of a level budget and then doing a warrant article for paving. The risk of that is if that warrant article fails, then we're not paving a road that we plan to pave.
Right, but I would suggest maybe do something like have a fund where it's like, kind of like the.
Oh, you're talking like a capital fund?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I apologize. A capital fund, yeah, that's absolutely an option.
Yeah, I mean, something that you're.
Yep.
Dripping, driving through.
Throwing $20,000, $30,000 a year into, and tapping when you have the price spikes.
Right.
Yep. Not on the warrant this year.
Understand.
Feel free to write one up for next year. Yes, ma'am.
Another question, does that include our sidewalks? Because if you live on Main Street, I mean, they're broken, cracked, kids are walking on them to go to school, riding bikes, it's a real mess. So what's in the budget? Is there anything in the budget to do with sidewalks?
So there's a small amount of funds for sidewalk repair. There was and there still is a sidewalk trust capital fund that was established. Money was put in that, and they did the sidewalk basically on the opposite side from the school was part of that. There's not a lot of money left in that sidewalk capital fund. We haven't had a warrant article to add money to that the last several years. So any maintenance, as I said, there's part of that budget, it's a small amount of the budget goes towards sidewalk maintenance, but it's on the order of $5,000 or so that we budget for that, mostly for patch jobs and substantial repairs that get needed. For example, I think we did the sidewalk by the country store was repaved under the highway and streets budget as opposed to the sidewalk fund. Which sidewalk fund was established to basically expand sidewalks. So the idea was to put more money in it so that we could, the plan was to have sidewalks go all the way up to 108, all the way down to Old Lee, I think. Sidewalks are expensive, so the budget priorities, people stopped proposing to put money into that capital. Any more questions about highways and streets? Street lighting, last year was 8,000. This year it's 5,500. Two reasons for that: electricity prices have come down year over year, which is a good thing. And two is we're really starting to reap the savings from converting our street lights to LEDs about 5 or 6 years ago. We're down to 5,500 for the budget. Any questions about lighting? Okay. All right. Sanitation. So, little different this year. We've tried to break this up so it's more clear. The prior years it was very lumped in. So what you see here is, and I'm going to just describe the category before we go into details. Recycling collection, solid waste collection, solid waste disposal. We have the fall cleanup, and we have the sanitation fees for Newmarket. So before we get into the recycling one, let me just go through the other lines to make sure there's no questions, and we can get into the details. The sanitation fee for Newmarket, that's the fees that are required to allow access for people in Newfields to the transfer station on Ashmont Road in Newmarket. The $14.50 solid waste fall cleanup is that's for the Exeter, access to the Exeter. for the hazardous waste that they do at the Exeter water treatment plant every year. So that, again, is kind of the town fee to allow everybody to be able to take their old paints and oil and everything down to. Solid waste collection and disposal, that is for curbside solid waste collection, trash collection. And then the $5,200 here for recycling. Those funds right now represent the fees that we're going to be paid for recycling from January, February, March. So those are the description of those items. We broke it out differently. We thought it was more valuable and people could better understand which fees are associated with recycling solid waste and then our access fees to the transfer stations. With that, yes, Phyllis.
Why are there no excess fees for the new market this year's budget?
Okay, so for last year, you mean?
Yeah.
See, last year, those fees were buried in the other lines. And so, again, for clarity's sake, so people could better understand, we broke out the approximately $8,000 this year, so that people could see that the access fees to Newmarket as a separate, because it got lumped in with the other fees, other line items. Again, we're breaking it out so that there's more clarity to what's recycling, what's municipal waste, and what are our access fees to the transfer stations.
And why are the solid waste collection, collecting and solid waste disposal lines going up?
So this reflects the proposed budget, right, has recycling for January, February, and March, where the town is going to vote on the warrant article for recycling. The budget as constructed is assuming that there's greater tonnage that's going into municipal solid waste, and therefore you see higher fees for solid waste collection and disposal. Now, that will change if the warrant article is passed. Those will be lower, but the recycling line will be higher. Yes?
Can you give us an idea of how much lower that would be?
So again, for reference sake, past year we did 600 tons of solid waste collection and about 120 tons of recycling collection. The disposal fees for solid waste were approximately $78 a ton. So you're looking at, we assumed a couple % increase in the tonnage plus the $78 fee for next year for solid waste. But that's not on 600 tons, that's on 720 tons. Right? Because the assumption here is that the recycling tonnage is going to be coming in through municipal solid waste. So basically the differential in the 80,000 to the 103,000 is some of that is incremental solid waste. The bulk of it, though, is a conversion of the 120 tons from recycling to solid waste. And on the disposal, the increase from $37,500, that's just a collection fee. That's the fee that we've agreed to pay for them to drive around and collect. The differential there, again, is basically, 20,000 of that solid waste, approximately 20,000 of that solid waste disposal is recycling collection that is now going to be municipal solid waste collection. Yes?
So we're assuming that at the end of Q1, we're going into taking recycling and putting it into solid waste, right?
This budget makes that assumption.
Okay, and is that solid waste cost versus recycling cost cheaper? Is that why we're doing it?
Yes.
Okay, how much?
Solid waste total, if you take our solid waste collection fee, it's approximately $212 per ton. Recycling, this total fee for the 120 tons is about $550 a ton.
So we're no longer going to recycle, only cardboard.
Correct.
That's-
Correct. Unless, if the warrant article passes,
Yeah.
then that money will go back here and they'll be shifting the lines aren't,
What do we assume the total savings is?
to make the change. It was approximately $30,000 savings
All right, thank you.
versus what we did last year,
Yeah, okay.
and which is why we did it. Yes, sir.
So 2 weeks ago, this recycling line was zeroed out.
Yep.
How did it get put back in?
The 5,200?
Yeah.
So the option remained on the contract to go to month. And the decision was made that the town was going to have a warrant article to have a vote on the town, and recognizing that, okay, if we cut it off, we cannot do any recycling for the year. But it made sense that we allow the town to vote on it and make a determination, and continuing it, it's on an every other week until March. And so the decision was made to basically invoke the option on the contract to extend it in our discussions with them till that, to allow the town to make a decision, what do you want to do? So, you know, with the warrant article as it is, the town has the option to do that. Yes, right.
Michael, I think what I just heard is that the savings would be $30,000 if we.
Year over year. Last year, with full curbside recycling versus this year with no curbside recycling.
So the warrant article for $15,000, that seems like it's half the cost of $30,000.
So it is, but it's not bringing back every week. It's bringing back every other week. Yes, correct. Correct. Yes, Phyllis?
I'm confused because I looked at the delta of the solid waste collection and the solid waste disposal, and it's basically an increase of almost $28,000.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like
But-
$28,000 would cover recycling every other week.
But understand, it's solid waste collection, solid waste disposal, and the recycling, right? It's that other 60,000 recycling. We're taking 30,000 of that and it's going into solid waste. So that we're saving $60,000 on recycling, but 30,000 of that cost, because of the tonnage, goes back into solid waste. That's the $30,000 we're talking about in the budget. Yeah.
One more question.
Yeah.
The limit on what you can put out by the curb, is that driven by reducing costs, or what's the driving factor there?
Well, two things. One is, yes, incrementally, it should provide a modicum of savings, a few $1,000s perhaps. But two, it is, and this was raised by our service provider and by others. There are people in town who are putting out a lot of curbside waste. Where it's coming from, I can speculate. I don't know for sure. But the idea of this is to provide a service to the people in town, a baseline service, so they're not, disposing of this or burning it in their backyard. That's why the town provides, trash collection. So it's a better environmental way of dealing with municipal waste. There are people who have been abusing it to some extent. That's not fair to everybody else in town. The idea of this is for residential waste. When you have the equivalent of 6 or 7 barrels, big barrel, 40-gallon barrels outside, they've been collecting it, but that means nobody's generating 7 barrels a week of municipal solid waste. Chances are it's coming from somewhere else, and they're free-riding on the town for their waste disposal. So in discussions with our service provider and discussions here at the board, we determined that asking our service provider to take basically 2 of those large barrels or 2 large contractor bags worth of waste per household was a reasonable way to.
Is it for a new contract or is it on the existing contract?
Well, this would be with our service provider Elm, who's our waste provider now on the existing contract. We requested that they take 2 large barrels only.
But if they were taking all of them before, and now they're taking less, is there a savings there?
It should be.
Well, it should be, or
Yeah.
is there?
Well, we won't know until we start seeing the tonnage numbers come in for this year.
But there has to be some expectation there.
Yeah, there is. Again, I don't drive around on the trucks. I don't know the exact tonnage over and above the 2 barrels that this will change. The estimates are, the guesstimates are, that we might see a couple $1,000s in savings by doing this. But we won't know until we enact it and we see a change in the tonnage.
The point is you're policing the quantity.
Yeah, correct.
It should go, it should curb.
That's the concept. And it's up to the, oh, I'm sorry, do you want to make a
Yeah,
comment?
I just want to, so this contract that we currently have now with Elm started in January of '23. The numbers that I put out probably last week, that were on the 2 Facebook pages, we're looking at 120 gallons of waste per unit per week of pickup. So it can either be 260, it's 120 gallons, so right? So you can't get a 60 gallon, you can get a 64 gallon. Elm's going, okay, we're not gonna worry about 8 gallons. You get 3 contractor bags, that's okay. You get 12 kitchen bags, that's okay. But what we've been seeing, and to Michael's point, we'll see 2 large trash cans, and then we'll see 3 contractor bags, and then 3 or 4 kitchen bags, all from the same residence. Now, so this is, all we're doing is basically saying this has been the contract, and now we're gonna tighten up on the terms of the contract, because the town has been taking advantage of it. So it isn't like all of a sudden we've changed the rules in the middle of the stream here in year 2. They're the same numbers that we had at the start of 2023. Now, when you come to the holidays, everybody goes, okay, it's Christmas time, everybody, Jim is very understanding, he goes, yeah, we're gonna have more trash, we're gonna have more pickup. And if somebody has, and if you look at the terms of the contract, and a reasonable amount of extra MSW, solid waste. So he's not gonna put it on scales, he's not gonna worry about it, he's just gonna use his common sense, and we're just asking folks to kind of live what we've been doing about it. And one of the questions on this that I've gotten frequently is, well, did you guys kind of screwed up on this contract? Well, not really, because all the other competitors all had fuel surcharges they were hitting us with. And they all had big restrictions, such as the only one that didn't require a contractor bag, you couldn't put loose trash in your trash cans. Everything had to be bagged, so now we're putting more plastic into the waste stream. This Elm precludes that. So if you do a cost-benefit analysis over the top and in the long term, plus he was substantially less money for the 3-year contract than were Waste Management and Casella. Casella was totally out of control. They exceeded it by probably, let's see, $30 or $40 a ton over what Elm charges. So yeah, there's a little bit of growing pain as we're trying to get back to the intent of the contract, but there's been no change as far as what's allowable for the amount of refuse per residence.
So you're saying that we were only allowed 2 of those 60?
So about 120 gallons a week. So 2 64s, he's not gonna complain. 3 contractor bags, that's fine. 12 kitchen bags, or any combination thereof.
We're not gonna police what they collect, but we've indicated to him, use your discretion. So again, as Hobie said, around the holidays, everybody knows there's more trash around the holidays. Elm is, interested in doing good service for the people of the town. We've left it to their discretion. They've been a very good service provider to us in the town. They've been very responsive. We think this is a way to just ask everybody in town to, not abuse the system. That's really what the request is for.
One of the other things, and I'll just throw out this additional part, is he'll send me pictures of what he sees. He'll send me photographs, and you kind of go, wow. Okay, so there'll be 2 64-gallon cans and 5 contractor bags, and 3 of them are only half full. Just fill the bags, fill the trash can, and they're happy. Because they've got tippers on them, okay? So they just hook it up in the back of the truck, dump it in the truck. It isn't like the guys are out muscling them, and gals are out muscling them. So just try and work with the...
It sounds like an odd problem, with these residents, you're saying, putting out all this extra trash. Is this like a couple of residents that are doing this, or are we seeing it across the board that we have to police the whole town? I'm not opposed to it, I'm just asking.
Oh, it's what, probably a dozen or so?
And I've ridden around with
The
him.
same ones?
Yeah.
So why don't we send them letters and let them know.
It has been
instead of
addressed.
chasing everybody?
The problem.
The hope is that we're addressing it in this manner. Look, if it continues, yeah, we're gonna have to come down on people. The whole idea is, you don't wanna be a jerk about it, we set a policy, we're hoping that everybody abides by the policy, so.
They're taking advantage of the town.
Exactly.
And we all have to
Pay
change
for
it.
And we're working to address
That's
it.
why I was asking,
Yeah.
is it like five?
Oh, it's
something,
been,
or is
a
it-
couple of folks have been informal addresses. And the other point I'll just throw out, folks, is one of the things that I saw when we were just kind of talking about it, and not to digress too long here.
No, go ahead.
But,
I figured this was gonna be long anyway.
when Elm comes through, and they normally hit your house at 08 in the morning, and then next week, they don't show up till 1:30, all right? Don't panic, because they will be there. They start at 07, and they finish at 8 PM, or 6 PM, okay? So if they're at your house, and they don't get the neighbors, or they get the neighbors and don't get you, don't worry about it. Now, if at the end of the day, it doesn't look like they have gotten there, give Sue a call, she'll notice Elm will solve the problem. And if they can't make it that day, they will make it the next day. There will be exceptions for weather and holidays and so on.
Well, along that point, some of you may have noticed that Elm was actually going through town today, and it's because they didn't complete yesterday's run, and they just showed up today and finished off.
And that was another precip.
Yeah, and so, again, they're very good service providers, they've been very responsive. If you have problems, definitely call town hall, let us know. Jim and Elm have been very, very responsive, so we try to work with them to address problems as quick as possible.
The New Market sanitation fees, what is, I haven't actually gone over there. I thought
Yep.
that was for like extra recycling.
No.
What-
So if you have, let's say, you're doing, you're remodeling your bathroom, and you've taken down some drywall and, the old toilet and your construction material. We don't have a transfer station here in town. These fees allow you, as a resident of Newfield, to go to Newmarket. You have to pay a small fee, $25 for, let's say, a truck bed of construction debris. You pay the fee and you're allowed to dump there. This basically, we're subsidizing Newmarket's operations for the transfer station through our $8,000. They're allowing everybody in town to have access to go and use it. You can drop your electronics there, you can drop metal there, you can do leaves there, everything at the transfer fee you have access to via, because of those.
Oil, recycled batteries.
Yeah. Well, the oil, does Newmarket take oil now?
They do.
Oh, I didn't even know that. Usually that was the hazardous waste fee for Exeter, is usually for the paints, and it used to be for the oil. I didn't know Newmarket's taking oil now. Great.
Is that for fuel too? For the fuel as well?
I don't think fuel.
You can go on their website, or you can call Newmarket and ask.
You go to them.
Yes, ma'am.
So I have a question, I'm going back to the numbers. So we're going to have 132,000, and we're losing the sidewalk. Right? And that whole category is trying to understand, we're losing something, but we're spending 133.
So, okay, again, look at it this way. Hold on, let's add it up.
It's about a 3% cost for what Jim's charging us for pickup over last year.
Yeah, there's increases in pickup fees, there's also increases in the tonnage fees.
Well, the tipping fees have gone up, and turnkey, that's another one.
Yep.
We're on a 7-year schedule for turnkey, which is recycling facility out in Rochester. And so that goes up every year that we have to pay that.
Alright, you could just explain it to me, those, I thought those numbers at the bottom were the sums he's saying.
Oh, no, yeah. Sorry about that. I'm sorry if that wasn't clear. So just for clarity, in 2023, the 4 line items there add up to 187,500. Okay? The 4 line items in 2024 are 177,906. Now, that's a $10,000 difference, but we're accounting for the tonnage fees and the increase in disposal fees. If we added back the full recycling, that would be about $30,000 higher. That's what we're talking about. That's the differential. So if you did the math with the existing tonnage at recycling, this would be more like 208,000. Yes, sir.
I guess it's more of a comment than a question, but seems like you've taken a very reasonable approach by going to the every other week recycling. I just don't understand why that's not added in as a line item, as a line item.
So, again, we had long meetings about this, and this will certainly be discussed at deliberative session. Right now, we're looking at a substantial increase in our operating budget after last year's 8% plus. And, you know, I don't have to, I'm sure I don't tell everybody in this room who got tax bills in December, there were substantial changes with respect to the taxes in town. We have a lot of warrant articles spending a lot of money, and the board has to make a recommendation as to an operating budget. This is already going up almost 7%. It was a determination of a majority of the board that making this recommendation is the fiscally prudent thing to do. And let me say this, knowing that a warrant article is coming up, if we had, hypothetically, we had put recycling in the budget, and at deliberative session, it was removed, and there was no warrant article because we had included it in the budget, the town would have no choice but to lose recycling. In fact, the way that we're doing this is allowing the town to take a vote on this issue. And there's going to be a vote of the town on this issue. And if the town says we want recycling, recycling will take place. So I know, certainly I've been accused of having it out for recycling. That's not the case here. We're trying to allow the town to make a determination as to what it wants to do. This is the best way to do it. Because if recycling gets put in the budget and enough people show up at deliberative and it's removed, it's gone. And there's no way to bring it back. So just be aware of that. Thank you. Other questions about sanitation? All right. What's that? Yes. Thank you. You want to mention that? Do you want me to mention that?
Yeah, I'll mention it. The other thing we did on this was we took away the dump day that we typically have once a year over here. So those monies can be put again towards the new market dumping. We have those materials you bring over.
So yeah, every year, as Mike said, you know, we do down at the water department. You can, you know, bring your stuff that you can't put curbside. Actually, the last several years, there hasn't been a lot of people showing up. Although some people show up several times, which is perfectly their right. But again, we're trying to find ways to keep this budget from going up. This was one of the areas where we thought, you know what, we'll put it off for a year. Maybe bring it back next year. People just have to wait a year to do it. But we, again, trying to find every nickel and dime in the budget to try to keep the budget increase to a minimum. All right, backside, health. Pest control, that's mosquito spraying. We kept that as zeroed out. Line item, again, looking for savings. Any questions on the pest control? Health agencies, $4,500, it's down slightly from the $4,750. These are monies that we collect your tax money and then we make donations to nonprofits, typically nonprofits that do activity here in town. These are the funds that are utilized to make those contributions to those agencies. Any questions about health agencies? Welfare, $4,000. That's been about the budget line for a good amount of time. We kept it at $4,000. Do you want to describe this?
The only thing I'd offer to that is we've been fortunate to have some outside NGAs. The Lions Club deserves great credit. Other organizations similar to that have reached out to the town and said, if you have folks that need assistance with heating oil, electric bills, et cetera, let us know, and we have resources that we can provide. So between specifically the Lions Club and that money that we have set aside, we're making sure that nobody in town runs out of electricity because they couldn't pay their bill or propane or fuel in the wintertime. So it's not, we're not gonna fill your tank every time it runs empty, but we're gonna help you through the crunch, and then we'll find a solution for you so that we can move forward on that. And it's been very successful, and the budget amount of 4,000 has been a good number for the past 3 years.
Any questions about the welfare line? Parks and Recreation, this is for, what do we have?
Mowing of the Badger Park.
Badger Park, yep. Any questions about this?
Landing.
No? Excellent. Library, the library, last year 72,622. Kudos to the library trustees, sharpening those pencils this year, coming back to 73,134 for the proposed budget. Any questions about the library?
I have a quick question on that.
Yeah.
When had mentioned to you about home heating oil,
Mm-hmm.
is that included in their budget?
I think so. It was about the contract.
So you guys paid?
Yeah, we pay it and leave the contract. So
Yes.
And they changed it.
Yeah.
I was just trying to jump on that bandwagon.
Yeah.
You guys are paying.
Yeah. Just move it out of your budget too? It's, I mean, you know, 6 of one, half dozen of another. It'll make your line look good,
Makes
right?
my line look good.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we can always do that as a general energy number. You know, it is what it is in terms of these lines for this year. And at the end of the day, it's all paid out of the same. Any questions about library? Patriotic purposes, these are for flags for veterans and Memorial Day, correct? Oh, the flagpoles, yep. Any questions about patriotic?
It's not on the flagpoles.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's not a flag.
It's the cemetery
Yeah.
flags.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Thank you. Celebration, 8850 last year, 9290 this year. Any questions about celebration? Don't forget, 175th anniversary this year for Memorial Day. And don't forget to buy your Christmas ornaments downstairs. No questions about celebration? Administration, natural resources, this is mostly Conservation Commission money to basically administer the conservation easements and work done by the Conservation Commissions. Any questions about that one? Other conservation, $5, that's basically a placeholder line in case something comes up for conservation, we do that every year. And then last item, principal and interest on long-term notes, total $65,020, couple more years left on those notes. So the bottom line number is a proposed operating budget under Article 2 is $2,092,446. Yes, sir.
I've got to ask you about the bonds and those. Isn't there the bond that we bought for the purchase of the land between us and Newmarket?
Mm-hmm.
When is that in?
I believe it's 2026?
3 years, 3 more years.
There are.
24, 25, 26. Three more years.
1.28 million.
And, you know, the payments go down every year. I mean, it's basically driven by on the interest schedule that we have. But it's approximately 65,000 or so for the next 3 years.
Yeah, that's what I understood it was sooner than that, so thanks for clarifying.
Yep. Other questions about the operating budget? Yes, Jim.
I'm assuming, correct me if I'm wrong, that any monies not spent or that are about to go back to taxpayers?
So no. So the operating budget works this way. It's a bottom line number. So while we are proposing all of these specific lines, let's say for instance, we end up, for example, legal expense went over last year. Okay? What we cannot do as a town is exceed the bottom line number of $2,092,446. Okay? There's, and I use the word discretion, there's discretion. So if something comes up, the town can address it. And that, so there's flexibility under that. This is basically guidance to the board that this is how the town expects to spend the money. But at the end of the day, the town is just voting on a bottom line number, okay? We go through all of these lines, and by the way, if there's other things people want to consider for spending, I suggest you throw it out now, and here's why. At deliberative session, right, this number can change, right? But we can't spend any money unless it has been discussed here at the budget hearing. So, for example, if somebody came up with the idea of spending money on something that didn't fit into any of these categories, no matter how good an idea it was, and no matter how much flexibility we had in the budget, we're actually statutorily prohibited from spending money. It's just part of the statute. But this goes to the point that you raised. So we spend, let's say we spend $2 million next year. We don't end up spending $92,000. It doesn't go back to the taxpayers. That excess funds ends up rolling into the undesignated fund balance. And that undesignated fund balance is what periodically is utilized for, towns can use it for anything, but it's typically used for, under warrant articles to offset and avoid additional taxation on having a warrant article come out of taxation. So when we pass a warrant article, let's say for the fire truck, unless it designates that coming from the unfunded balance, that's going to come out of taxation. So we calculate the tax rate at the end of the year based upon those numbers. If a warrant article is utilizing undesignated fund balance, it doesn't come out of taxation. It actually comes from those undesignated reserves that the town has accumulated over the years. What's that? Exactly. Thank you. That's exactly correct.
How much is in the undesignated fund now?
There's approximately 1.1 million in the undesignated fund balance right now. We are statutorily required to keep that between 5% and 17% of our total expenditures, which includes the school education funding as well as the municipal spending. So
that would be around $5 million-ish.
Combined. Correct. And we're statutorily required to keep that between 5% and 17%. So we're somewhere around, I think it's around 13, 14%. We used to be down at like, I want to say 6.5% about 10 years ago. We steadily increased that over time. And most of that increase is kudos to the people who make decisions around here about the department heads, because they're not spending up to their budget. They find ways to save money. At the end of the day, that rolls into the undesignated fund balance. We've crept it up year over year, and it's basically a rainy day fund for the town, in effect. And so that's what that is. Yep. Other questions about the budget? Okay. So we'll quickly just go through the warrants. Again, if there are questions or comments, please raise your hand. I'll read through these so that they're covered formally. So Article 1, road property acquisition by citizens petition. Shall the town of Newfields vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to acquire approximately 101 acres of property located off Piscassic Road near Bassett Lane in the town of Newfields, a portion of Newfield Tax Map 205 Lot 2, for the purposes of expanding the town-owned Inland Acres Town Forest and preserving open space, trails, public outdoor recreation, drinking water supplies, and wildlife habitat, to raise and appropriate the sum of up to $3.7 million for the acquisition, not to exceed fair market value, to be funded by up to $2.5 million from a Clean Water State revolving fund loan to the town with up to 20% or $500,000 in principal forgiveness and up to 80% or $2 million to be repaid by the town. And $1.2 million or more in other grants or gifts. To authorize the selectmen to apply for, obtain, accept, and pass through a CWSRF loan and any federal or state grants or private gifts which may be available for said project, and all in collaboration with and facilitated by conservation organizations. This approval will not lapse until the property is acquired or by the end of 2025, whichever is sooner. Not recommended by the select board 0 to 3. This will require a 60% vote as it is a bond measure over $100,000 for the town, which is also why it is Article 1. Normally, Article 1 is our operating budget. Bonds are statutorily required to be first. Okay. Questions? Yes?
Are the grants guaranteed?
The applications for the grants have been made. The second one's going to be made this Friday. And again, they're grants, so we'll have to see if we receive a grant. All right.
So that initial price could go up if we don't receive.
The initial price what?
I mean, the total that we have, the town would have to contribute could go up. Could go to 3.7.
So this authorizes the board to enter into only a $2.5 million Clean Water State revolving fund loan. So that's the limit that the town would be authorized to enter into. Just want to make sure the language is clear. Yes,
It's only 80% of that. It's the 2 million, is the match.
No, understood. But I think the point is for example, if a $500,000 grant doesn't come through and there's only 700,000, they're asking for the 3.5. We're only authorized to get a loan for 2.5 million. I just want to make sure everyone's right. Okay. Just want to make sure that that's
the ceiling of what the town is
correct can borrow. It's not what we're paying back. We have a ceiling to what we can borrow under this warrant of 2.5 million.
With a $500,000 forgiveness.
Yes, but the borrowing cap is 2.5. Yes, ma'am.
Can you comment on why the select board was 0 to 3?
Sure. I'll comment for myself. I'll let the other board member. This has been in discussion since last spring. I personally have a problem with the value being asked for the property, especially as we go through this. There's a lot of money that's going out the door here. We're looking at another 6.5%, 7%, maybe higher operating budget increase on top of the 8% last year. The school is asking for $1.9 million this year for parking lot and a driveway. We're trying to buy a new fire truck. I see this as, for me, I'd love to buy the conservation land. I think that this is too much. That's my personal opinion as to the rationale for my vote. You guys want to weigh in?
One of the points that I'll offer is having sat through a 2-hour conversation with the appraiser and had read the appraisal. Numerous times I do have issues with the appraisal. At the point there will be additional appraisals that will come forward. And I have questions on the value of the land that I have not been able to get an answer to yet. So that's one of the reasons at this point I am not supporting it. Taxes, again, the point Michael made about that, the school with the $1.9 million parking lot issue. And then I'm also not sure what the town of Exeter is doing with their 40-acre parcel. So they haven't really moved forward. They are exploring and sending the last warrant article that I saw from them was to explore and move forward and inquire as to how to move forward on this project. And I'm concerned about us committing to a project and with the visibility of the land, whether it's landowner can do whatever he wants with it, but there's myriad questions that I have not been able to get an answer from. That's why I said I'm not ready to commit 100% to supporting the purchasing as opposed to continue to investigate, check all the X's in the block, do my due diligence, and then move forward.
Yeah, not too much left to say after what these guys put out, basically in the same park as them. Too many unknowns right now, but we can get some more information before making a decision.
Has anybody, I guess, could I call the Emmanuel Engineering firm up in Portsmouth that did the survey and talk to them about what they think plans for the land could be? Does that name sound familiar? I got that name from the people, I forget the name, Trail Rock people, for Trail Rock. I'm just curious if anyone's reached out to them and said, okay, yeah, there can be 60 houses there, or there can be 5 houses there. That's kind of a big deal.
May I jump in there?
Yeah, go ahead.
The projected housing numbers that you see are based on a surveyor's assessment of the situation. How many can I fit into this footprint?
Right.
I have seen nothing showing engineering or assessment or analysis of ledge, of wetland, or any of those issues.
That's what I was asking.
And so, and I've seen documents that say, we don't really want to go there and talk about that. Well, I want to know, I don't want to buy a pig in a poke and spend all this money, all of your money, until I know black and white what we're looking at.
So we'll be able to get that, because that's important, right? I mean.
Well, I will most assuredly get my hands on
Yeah,
one.
I mean, if there's a 60 house neighborhood in the back of my house, it would be a problem. But then at the same time, if they can build one, they can't build any, then that's different. So I was just kind of curious.
So I think that's going to be one of those issues that's going to be working its way through the process.
Okay, so that we're gonna be able to get access to that information.
And I think that's accessible through a FOIA, is it not? The appraisal.
The appraisal itself, I believe is publicly available now. I'm not sure, I'd have to check.
I remember a reference
Because
to being in the appraisal that a FOIA was an option to acquire, if I remember correctly.
So it's an appraisal of somebody's private property. So I don't have the answer to that, whether that is a publicly available document or not. I don't know the answer to that. Yeah.
I just want to make a point about this. Is 20 years ago when we did this before with the property up on the end of Halls Mill Road. The difference with that was an approved subdivision, okay, ready to build the road. Everything was approved. I don't remember, it was a lot of houses, 180 something houses, something like that. 130 houses. But that was an approved subdivision. Plans were done, planning board approved it, ready to dig the ground. This one here, there are no plans.
Right, I'm just trying to get access to that.
There are no plans, but if this moves forward, there's not going to be, you know what I'm saying? There's not time for that.
And that was the point I was referencing. This 68 plot, 68 houses plot, that's somebody sitting there going, okay, I got this piece of land, I can footprint these in there. And there's no, that's like, okay, yeah, I get 68 houses in there. There's no analysis or assessment of what the land is capable of doing.
Now, the roof is 2 acres minimum. That's 100 acres, that would be 50, okay? No way they're going to put 50 houses.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm just trying to see if it's really.
I'm going to take additional comments, but let me make clear. There's a bond hearing next Tuesday that will go through this in detail. So I hesitate to rehash this and then go there. But anyways, Jane, go ahead.
Thank you. Let me know if this question should wait, considering it has to do with Article 4 as well as Article 1. What are the implications of one or both of these articles passing or not passing? So if Article 1 passes and Article 4 passes, what happens? If Article 4 is defeated and Article 1 passes, I want to know what the implications are so that I can come to full.
Sure. And to be honest, I don't know the implications of that, which is why these have to get sent to DRA, correct? They're gonna be the Department of Revenue Administration at the state. They actually go through the language of every single warrant article that we put out, and they actually go through and say, oh, you can't use this language, or you can't even do this. You're not allowed under the statute to do this. So it is a question that these just came in. We've provided them to DRA. We're probably going to have conversations with them because I don't know the answer to that question either.
That's fair. When would...
I'm hoping before the bond hearing.
Okay, thank you. And the bond hearing
is in a week. I'm hoping before then that we will be able to get some resolution about exactly that question.
Okay, thank you. And can I be sure
Oh, yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I'll make a note to myself. I hope you're there.
I'll be there.
Oh, great, then you can raise it if I forget. Yeah.
I would just like to speak to a comment made by Board Member Harmon. You mentioned that there were no wetlands taken into account.
Oh, there are wetlands talked about, and they're referenced on the chart. But building and the precipitation and collating and all. Okay, I'll rephrase that. Let me rephrase that for you, Jeff. There are pictures of wetlands on the plot.
But it's unfair to say that those.
I just rephrased it.
Can I speak? It's unfair to say that the wetlands on the property were not taken into account when establishing the number of possible building lots, as you stated prior. That's all. I'm not looking to get into it. I'm looking to clarify.
No, and I just rephrased before you said it.
Okay, fair enough.
Any other, questions about the warrant itself, the meaning of the warrant? Again, bond hearing next week. This will go on for hours to answer every question about this. So, all right.
You mentioned the school parking lot that next year, or?
That's going to be on the warrant this year.
And that's about $3 million as well.
I think it's 1.9 million.
They dropped it from 2.3 down to 1.8 and change.
1.8 change.
Turn on those bonds.
I can't say this, under the Clean Water State Revolving Fund, there's different years. We can do a 10-year, we can do a 5-year, we can do a 20-year. It's unclear whether we can do a 30-year. Interest rates, they put out an intraday schedule. Interest rates are somewhere between, I think, 2 and 3% for clean water revolving loans right now. We won't know until we won't be entering into the bond immediately. It'll probably be, 6, 8, 12 months if the time decides to go forward. So we can make estimates about interest rates, and we'll talk more about that at the bond hearing, but, those will be determined at that time.
Talk about the bond for the property extension or the bond for the school?
No, Rec property. I'm just talking about Rec property. Yep. I have nothing to say about the school. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just wanted to correct one other statement by Select Board Member Harmon. My understanding is that the conceptual plan was developed by an engineer and not by the appraiser. It was also submitted to the town and the planning board for preliminary review, and that was declined by the board, the planning board. So I just wanted to correct those statements as well. It was not the appraiser that put together the plan for 67 homes. It was in fact an engineer.
Well, let me clarify. I'm on the planning board. The plan wasn't declined by the board. The board basically made a request for a formal plan to be submitted.
Right, which is not typically done when approaching a planning board for conservation, because putting together a formal plan would only increase the price for the town.
But again, I'll point to what Jeff had indicated. We've gone through this process before in this town, and the developer went through a fully complete plan so that the valuation was justifiable. It didn't happen in this case. I think that's the point that's being made. Yeah.
I think it's also important to mention that the landowner did not approach the planning board with the intention of developing the land. They approached the planning board with the intention of presenting the town the opportunity to conserve the land. That's a very distinct.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. But I just wanted to make, the planning board didn't decline a plan. I just wanted to make sure that we understood that, that's all. Yep, but you're absolutely right. Any other comments about this? Article 1? Article 2, the operating budget. Shall the town of Newfield raise and appropriate as an operating budget, not including appropriations by special warrant articles and other appropriations voted separately, the amount set forth on the budget posted with the warrant or as amended by vote of the first session, that's the deliberative session, for the purposes set forth therein totaling $2,092,446. Should this article be defeated, the default budget shall be $1,972,247, which is the same as last year with certain adjustments required by previous action of the town of Newfield or by law. or the governing body may hold one special meeting in accordance with RSA 4013, 10, and 16 to take up the issue of a revised operating budget only. Select Board recommends the $2,092,446 as set forth on budget 3-0. Any questions about this warrant article or what it means? No? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Can I just back up to a comment about the school parking lot?
Sure.
I thought I heard a mention that it was a warrant article, and I was just confused because we don't.
It's on the school warrant. This is just the municipal warrants.
Okay.
The school has a separate warrant. So when you come to the town, get your ballots, there'll be a municipal ballot, which will basically have all of these on it. And town officials who are running select board, trustee of the trust fund. The school ballot, separate with like school board members on it, and the school warrants for the school, because it's a separate entity than the town. Okay? Thank you. Any other questions on the operating budget and the default budget? No? Great. Article 3, reinstate bi-weekly curbside recycling. By citizens petition, shall the town of Newfields vote to raise and appropriate $15,000 to continue bi-weekly curbside recycling? Understanding the importance of being fiscally responsible, we support reducing curbside recycling to every other week instead of weekly. This money is to be utilized solely for the purpose of curbside recycling, not recommended by Select Board 1 to 2. Any questions about this? Pretty straightforward. Yeah?
The 15,000 that we're talking about, that must be just the extra cost of pickup, right? It's not the tipping fee.
Well, what would happen is, so in our sanitation budget, right, where the assumption is that a certain amount of tonnage and tipping fees would be utilized instead of for curbside, would then roll into recycling. And so the 15,000 is basically the differential that was given to us by the service provider to say, if you go to bi-weekly, these are what the numbers look like. If you get rid of it entirely, these are what the numbers look like. And so basically the 15,000 will cover the differential for bi-weekly collection.
It just sounds low when you talk about $500 a ton.
But again, you're correct. So it's a differential between the times of collection versus and the tonnage shift. What can I say? It kind of just falls out of the math, right? I apologize.
You got it covered.
Yeah.
Okay.
Look, if you'd like, I can send you an email with more details about what the options are. But I figured we don't want to go into that here.
I just want to know you got it covered.
We think we do.
But you didn't create the petition, so.
No.
Right, so.
No, and again, all these petitions can be amended at deliberative.
The question is, do the writers of the petition get the money?
Yeah. That's part of the deliberative section. That's not to be hashed out.
It's based on previous meeting.
Yeah, I mean, they're basing it on a previous meeting and the fact that we are doing 3 months of curbside recycling. Yeah. Yep. No, fair enough. Any other questions about Article 3? Article 4, study of right property acquisition by citizens petition to see if voters of Newfields, New Hampshire support the future purchase of approximately 101 acres of land, the right property, located off Piscassic Road near Bassett Lane, a portion of Newfield Tax Map 205, Lot 2, for the purpose of expanding the town-owned inland Acrestown Forest. The approximate cost of acquisition to the town of Newfields is $3.7 million less any grants to include a long-term interest-bearing bond that may be floated by the town of Newfields. To request that the select board review the project, including evaluation of funding options, bonds and grants, the ramifications of Exeter failing to purchase what would then become a landlocked 47-acre plot that is surrounded by Newfield and Exeter Conserved Forest, thus resulting in a de facto expansion of the Exeter Town Forest at no cost to Exeter. The select board will also determine the divisibility or lack thereof of the entire parcel and set impact on the viability of the project. All other considerations shall be considered. The board shall report to the town its findings as to purchase considerations recommended by the select board 2-0 and 1 abstention. Questions about this warrant article? Yes.
So I'm surprised that there isn't money in here. You guys are going to do this for free. then you're not gonna have any help that you have to pay.
This was by citizens petition,
Okay,
right? So, make clear.
okay. You didn't do it.
Nope,
So
25
I'm-
people's signatures put this on the warrant.
I'm right in questioning.
Yeah, no. It's fair question.
Would it be fair that it has a time period?
Would it be fair that it has?
The study is not, this has to look into it?
Again, these are issues to be raised at deliberative session. We're just presenting the warrant articles here as part of the budget hearing, as is required. I can try to answer questions. Again, we didn't write the citizen petition. Yeah, when?
Deliberative session, you can't change the intent or the wording, just the numbers, right?
You can't change the intent. So, for example, to Greg's question,
Yeah.
should there be a date in it? It would probably be up to our moderator to make a determination whether that is changing the intent of the warrant article. Sorry, you, John. I'm dodging that bullet. But it would be up to the most part, it would probably be up to the body as well as the moderator to determine whether something like that is changing the intent or not. It's a gray area.
I forget who asked the question before, but there's a difference between these two. I'm not very clear, I don't need to worry about that, but it just, if one passes, they're not linked.
They're not linked, and again, to the point that Jane made, which is something that we have to ask DRA about, which would be, what are the implications of these two warrant articles if one passes, or both passes really, both passes, what happens? I can make a speculation, as anybody else in this room could. My speculation is that Article 1 is empowering the board to move forward with the bond, and that's what they would do, but I don't know the answer to that. Our job is to try to figure that out over the next week. Yes, sir?
I think in addition to sorting out if the DRA was feasible or not feasible, consideration should also be taken at the deliberative sessions in the following hearing next week about what the landowner's intent is. My understanding is that landowners have been explicitly clear that they do not support this new warrant article. And if in fact that passes and that's the path the town goes down, they will not proceed with that and they will move to sell the land for development. So I think that should be taken into consideration at the upcoming meeting as well.
I'm sure that will be discussed at the upcoming meeting. Any questions about Article 4?
Just
Yeah, absolutely.
Just
Go
to
ahead.
further my question, and that kind of goes back to him.
Yeah.
Can the deliberative session put money in this article?
I doubt it, because there is no intent here, I shouldn't say there's no intent, but there is no dollar figure here to spend. So without that threshold, my opinion, it would not be allowed.
You can't change the dollar.
You can change a dollar
Zero
amount.
it out.
What's that?
You can zero it out.
Any dollar amount that's proposed can be zeroed out, yes. I know, but there's no dollar amount in this, in terms of an expenditure. It references the valuation of the property, right? It does not reference spending money. And because of that, again, my interpretation, and take it with a grain of salt, is that you can't suddenly put money into a warrant article that has no money in it. At the same time, a warrant article with money can be zeroed out at deliberative. Okay?
That's always a question, as a citizen position, you can zero something out.
The answer is yes.
We look to John to explain that over and over again. You do a great job. We'll be doing it again.
There was a bit of a, John, maybe by the way, of the moderator, can't wait to see you all. There was some misconception in the past about the ability for the town to modify citizens' petitions as proposed. Years ago, it was always sort of this like taboo thing. A citizen petition was put onto the warrant and had to stay as it was proposed. That is not true. Citizens' petitions
us about buying a new bicycle for the town hall, that's the subject matter. We can't change it to, no, we really want a truck. So those are the kind of parameters, I'm being very simple about it, but the subject matter can't change. That's sort of the baseline.
The intent of the warrant article itself.
That needs to stay.
Stay, yeah.
But it can be amended.
And by the way, along those lines, years past, it was possible to actually, to effect, null and void a warrant article by deleting the language. That's no longer allowed. So I'm just throwing it out there because what was passed maybe 10 years ago is no longer allowed under state statute. Okay? Yeah,
Can I
Craig.
ask why the board was unanimous in recommending not to go forward with Article 1, that you're not unanimous in studying Article 4?
Sure, because I'm the abstention. I have questions about the language of this, the issue that it may conflict with Article 1, and I understand what the intent is. I understand what the goal here is. I'm just uncomfortable in recommending a warrant article where I have questions.
Thanks.
Yep. Yes, sir.
To follow up on that, are you saying that if Article 4 failed, that you as a board would undertake a study anyway, undertake some form of study anyway?
No.
It's just the wording of this? You would not?
No, if Article 4 fails, it fails. Yeah.
So you're saying you would no longer be considering it as a board?
Well, if the town says we don't want to do a study, and that article fails, and because the town says we don't want to do a study, I think it would be entirely inappropriate for the board to go and do a study and spend taxpayer money to do a study. I can't imagine any of us.
If it fails, it fails.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Sam?
Could we hear from the other two select board members on why they do support warrant article 4?
I think very simply, with sure phone calls Hobie's received and I've received as well, is there's a lot of questions surrounding this this purchase, and this warrant article is an opportunity, I think, to get the information put together.
More knowledge. I want more knowledge.
Yeah.
And who funds it? I think that goes back to the original question. Oh, maybe for the delivery or something. I'll hold that.
Well, the bond hearing's next week.
Bond hearing.
Yeah.
Who would fund the costs that would be incurred by you supporting Article 4, where there's no funds appropriated here and can't be added? Right? I mean, a study of this nature will be costly. So I'm just trying to understand the support position for something that would be a costly endeavor without mention of how that would be funded.
I'd see it as more collation of the knowledge and the information that's available, and then just continue to explore and ask more questions until the X's are all on the block. And it sounds like a generic answer. But as I referenced on Article 1, my opposition was that is because I just don't have enough knowledge to make an intelligent decision when we're talking this kind of money and taking money out of people's pockets. And so there's a lot of time that is spent by every member of the board, more hours that are probably appreciated. And that to me would just be incorporated in part of the responsibility of the position.
Yes, sir?
Yeah, just a question for Select Board Harmon and Kessler. How do you interpret this warrant article as an opportunity to do more diligence if the landowner doesn't support it and will no longer move forward with conservation if this warrant article passes?
But I have to contemplate that.
Did you contemplate it before you made the recommendation last night?
No, I didn't hear that one from him until you just threw it at us just now. I wasn't cognizant of that. And it seems contrary to the whole point of presenting, because if I look at it and say, okay, Article 4, we study that, and they go, you know what, this is a really good deal, we want to move forward. I'm just a little trying to find it interesting that Russ said, no, if we decided to move forward, we're going to withdraw.
With Russ, I don't want to put words in their mouth. I think they'll have an opportunity to do that at the upcoming
And I look forward to hearing from them on that. You know.
I would think that their answer to that would be they've been pretty transparent about their timelines for a better part of a year now. There's been a lot of opportunity to look into this information.
Okay.
Other questions on Article 4? Move back page, Article 5. Future purchase of fire truck capital reserve. Okay. Shall the town of Newfield raise and appropriate the sum of $50,000 to be added to the fire truck capital reserve fund previously established for the future purchase of a new fire truck recommended by the select board 3-0. This is basically the annual contribution we make into the fire truck capital reserve fund. Any questions about Article 5? Okay. Article 6, Fire Department Equipment Capital Reserve. Shall the town of Newfield raise and appropriate the sum of $2,000 to be added to the Fire Department Equipment Capital Reserve Fund previously established, recommended by Select Board 3-0. Any questions about the equipment reserve? Okay. Non-lapsing fire truck payment. Article 7. Shall the town of Newfield raise and appropriate the sum of $200,000 for the purpose of providing the funds for the final payment for a new fire truck to be funded by $200,000 from the December 31st, 2023 fund balance. This appropriation will have no impact on property taxes. This scheduled warrant article will be a non-lapsing appropriation for RSA 32.7, Section 6. It will not lapse until the fire truck purchase is completed or by December 31st, 2027, whichever is sooner. Recommended by the Select Board 3-0. So just for clarity, we're moving forward to buy a new fire truck. We have approximately 450 plus 490 in the reserve fund. New fire truck costs upwards of $800,000. The Article 5 is going to add to this. The whole idea is that we are able to commit to make the final payment on the fire truck when it's delivered. Right now, that would require approximately $200,000 additional dollars beyond this warrant article and presumably the one for next year, which would then cover the final cost for the fire truck. Now, there's always a risk that warrant articles don't pass. So the idea was to propose this now. It could fail, but we'd like to try to get the town to agree that we're going to be making the final payment for the fire truck, utilizing funds from the undesignated fund balance to do that, so it does not have additional impact on taxation. All right, is that clear? And the non-lapsing means that it doesn't expire until, as noted, we either purchase the fire truck or if for some reason it doesn't get here by 2027, then the town will have to do something about that. Probably try to pass another warrant. Okay. Clear? Oh, great. All right. 175th Town Celebration, Article 8. Shall the town of Newfield, wait, did somebody have a question? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you didn't ask for questions.
Oh, I thought I did.
So,
I apologize.
just so I'm clear, the fund balance, this is the 1.1 million.
The undesignated fund balance that Jane had referenced earlier. Absolutely. Yep.
So it's money that's already been raised through taxes.
Was not spent per the budget, rolls into the undesignated fund balance. Yep.
Quick question on that.
Yeah.
You had referenced earlier that the designated fund balance is about 20-ish%.
I think we're around, right now, we're around 13, 14%.
With this reduction by 2027 and the addition of potentially new funds going into it, will we still be at the state designated fund balance?
I see no reason why we would not. So, typically, again, we've been fairly good year over year, coming just under our budget. We don't come under by 10%. That says that we're not doing our job. We're coming, a couple percent here or there, $30,000 a year, $50,000 a year, rolls into the undesignated fund balance. I don't see why by let's say 2027, when we're pulling the 200,000 out, chances are that the 1.1 will be slightly higher. That even if we're around $1 million, we'll probably still remain somewhere around the 11 to 10, 11, 12%, well within the statutory limits. I don't see any reason why we're going to fall well down below the 5% requirement.
Worst case scenario, if it does, what happens, penalties, taxation?
Yeah, it's taxation. We would have to basically over-collect to get our undesignated fund balance back up above the 5%. Chances of that happening right now, I'm going to less than 1%, in my opinion. Yep, absolutely. Yeah.
When we spec this out, is this gonna fit in the fire station?
Thanks for opening that can of worms.
Oh. And I'm, just to let you know, our first price came back at 1.2 million.
If it doesn't
But it
fit,
will fit.
we're putting it in Jeff's house.
It will fit.
You're getting rid of 2 trucks.
Yes, we're getting rid of 2 trucks for replacement.
Are we selling the 2 trucks, and is that going towards your funding for the?
Yeah, we'll be selling them, putting them out, they're not gonna bring.
Yeah, I don't expect them to bring my dollar.
Yeah.
No, they're not gonna bring $100,000.
Yeah, yeah.
But they will be, but that'll obviously be after construction. It's be about 900 days once we place the order before we see the truck.
Thus the non-lapsing nature of this warrant.
Well, if you keep them, maybe you could get a vintage price for
I will, I'll put you on, you could be a guy.
Starting bidder?
Starting bidder.
Any other questions about the fire truck, non-lapsing fire truck payment, Article 7? Last article, Article 8, for the 175th town celebration. Shall the town of Newfields raise and appropriate the sum of $5,000 for the 175th town celebration festivities recommended by the board 3-0? This is obviously for our Memorial Day 175th celebration and everything that will be going on with that event. Any questions on that one? Yes, ma'am.
What does it mean to raise the funds?
So, raise via taxation. So that's the technical statutory language for we're raising, we're given the ability as a town and a board to raise via taxation the funds in the warrant and appropriate the funds as designated in the warrant. All right. Any other items on the, oh, yes, you're back in the corner.
Box out, it's all ice.
Thanks for the warning. All right, thank you very much. I'm adjourning this budget hearing. Thank you, guys.
All ice.
Yours today, I don't have to see. Thank you. Thanks for the question.
First time I
Yeah.